Well, it's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and Washington, D.C., and this is news that you can use for Wednesday, January 3rd, from CarEdge with your host, me, Ray. And well, welcome home, Zach. How are you today, handsome?
Doing well, getting back into the groove. California was fun, but holy cow, am I excited to be back home. Dad, let's kick things off. We're going to be talking about Ford this morning. I had a Twitter thread, an X thread, a Twitter thread, whatever you want to call it, Dad. The
You had
top five
you had a
slowest,
thread. You had a
I had a
thread.
thread. The
Yeah.
top five slowest selling cars in the United States of America right now. We're going to get even more updated data on this soon. And number 5 on the list, Dad, is the Ford Mustang Mach-E. From our
Yes.
data, we have a 358 days supply of Ford Mustang Mach-E's, an average listing price of $57,000, 25,000 of them actively listed for sale, and 3,200 have sold in the last 45 days. We're going to be talking about the Mach-E and also the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, Dad, it's more than half of Ford dealers have now opted out or are, I guess, waiting to see if they
Yes.
actually want to join Ford's EV program. And when surveyed, dealers have said that Ford is the least trusted brand amongst
Mm.
all of the various brands that that car dealers represent. Some ugly things going on over at Ford, Dad, and I should mention that a representative from Ford actually contacted me over on the Twitter and said, let me
Yes.
scroll down here. This is from Martin Gunsberg. Martin suggested that our data is not correct. Martin says that based on their investor relations documents, what they put out, they actually have a 142 days supply of Ford Mustang Mach-E's, not our 350 or so. I think a lot of that has to do with, in my estimation, that a lot of vehicles going into service loaner fleet would be my guess, marked as sold when they're actually not. But who knows? There's different data sources out there. But what do you make of this, Dad? Everything going on at Ford as we head into the new year. We didn't even talk about the fact yet that the Mach-E lost its federal tax credit. What do you make of what's going on at Ford?
Um, who knew that the truth could be so ugly? I mean, who? Certainly, I didn't. And apparently, you found it in California. Um, they've got issues. They've always had issues. And right before the show, I just happened to check automotive news, and so now I think if you were to check automotive news, it might say updated 15 minutes ago. But since uh, the Ford Mach E and their Lightnings are selling so well that they've raised the prices of the Lightning trims. I was pretty close to being updated 15 minutes ago because I looked six. Um, it is beyond me how you raise the price of your least expensive lightnings while you lower the price of your most expensive lightnings. It just seems to me that everything Ford is doing is just, if you want to know the sound of one hand clapping, it is when that hand strikes the face of your potential consumer. Okay, because that's what they're doing. They're just smacking their potential consumers across the face. So if you want to know the sound of one hand clapping, just go to your Ford dealer and tell your salesperson, go ahead, just slap me. Go ahead, slap me silly. Because the whole thing is just, I mean, I don't get it. Then again, I don't work for Ford, so I'm not supposed to get it.
To give them some credit, Ford Maverick is one of the fastest selling vehicles, can't even stay in dealer inventory. And I think part of the point here, Dad, is that's a $30,000 price point. When we talk about the Maverick, or we'll look at the updated pricing for the F-150 Lightning here on today's show, those are 50, 60, 70, 80, pains me to say, $90,000 transaction price points for
Yes.
customers, not 25, 30, 35. On the fastest selling cars, you've got the Ford Maverick on there as it's in the top 10, not the top 5. The Kia Rio is one of the top 5 fastest selling cars in the United States right now because it's got a sub $20,000 listing price.
Yes. It's there's no real mystery to this. Um, it's 2024, and what we're going to talk about hasn't changed dramatically from, well, like 4 days ago. There is an affordability crisis, and the manufacturers have decided that they can get by without producing in significant quantity affordable vehicles. They know, as well as you and I and our audience knows, that 83% of respondents to a poll said that they don't feel as if they can afford to buy a new vehicle if they wanted to. So all the manufacturers seem content to play towards the 17% of the population who feels as if they can. And so Ford, along with GM, along with Stellantis, along with all the others, are just going to keep going more and further upscale to appeal to that 17% and not produce in the quantities needed the entry level affordable vehicles. I don't know how many Mavericks Ford has produced. Okay. Obviously, the dealers can't keep them in stock, which would indicate to me that Ford's just not interested in producing more of them because those aren't the ones that provide them with the highest profit margins. So they're going to continue to produce the ones that will appeal to the 17% of the population.
Let's look at the data. Let's dive in. Friendly reminder today, we've got 13 hours left for our extended warranty sale. Vehicle service contracts back on CarEdge.com. So take advantage of that back on the website. So let's do it, Dad. Let's go to the car search real quick. And let's see how many Ford. And let's go Maverick. So we've got, let's do new. We've got nationwide 5,421 Ford Mavericks for sale nationwide.
Yes, and how many of those are in transit? How many of those are vehicles that the dealer knows that they have incoming, that they are
So we've got
listing
4,800 that are actually on the lot. All right,
Okay.
4,800 Ford Mavericks. These are the ones that dealers, are selling like hotcakes. Let's click on one here, and we can take a peek at the day's supply information. Let's see here, 28 days supply. Okay, 28 days supply. Unlikely to get a discount is
Yes.
what our algorithm is telling you. So now let me head back here.
And I don't know if you noticed, but it said that there were, I think, 15 for sale and 24 had sold in the last 45 days. It tells you
Yep.
everything you need to know.
So then let's come back here, Dad, and let's look at that Mach-E.
Yeah.
And we're doing new Mach-E's that exclude in transit. There's, what is that? 4 times as many? 5 times
21,000. Yeah. It's 5 times.
And look at the price points, 60, 60, 49. I mean, like, to me, that tells you everything you need to know here. And we can pick on Ford a little bit because I'll pull it back up on the screen. The most and least trusted brands based on a dealer survey, Ford led the league.
Yes.
Least trusted brands based on percentage of dealers who agree. 48% of dealers said they don't trust Ford. Next on that list is 43% saying Nissan. Yeah.
And I will say this. This survey is from earlier in 2023. And the results were published in November of 2023. And I would bet dollars to donuts that if you were to do that survey today based on inventory levels at certain brands, that I think Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram would climb to the top of that list as feeling least fuzzy about, having fuzzy feelings, warm fuzzy feelings about Stellantis, because Stellantis has not supported their dealers to any great degree over the last 90 days. So I think it depends when you do the survey. If you were to do the survey right now, I'm pretty sure your CDJR dealers would be screaming, "We hate these sons of." Oh, I'll be good now. Yeah.
I think you're probably onto something, Pops, which speaks to everything that we're saying, affordability and the challenges that the automakers have created for us as consumers. You want to go buy a car. I mean, you want to go buy a car. Where do you think the affordable options are? Do you think they're at Toyota, Lexus, Subaru, Honda? Obviously not Porsche, but at the trusted dealerships, or do you think they're at the Ford, Nissan, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Infiniti? I mean, there is an interesting breakdown there. Like Nissan has affordable vehicles, but dealers don't have a great relationship. I wonder how much of that has to deal with years or even decades of stair-step programs that really left a bad taste in Nissan and Infiniti dealers' mouths, but think about Subaru and Honda and Toyota. Affordable price points for the most part. Toyota's getting
Yes.
more expensive. And dealers love it because there's not a ton of inventory, which means you have pricing power. Although we did see at the end of the year some deals come up for those brands. Dad, we also got the final data, or at least we're getting in, the final data for December sales. Let's take a
Yes.
quick peek there. There were some winners and losers in the end of 2023. GM sold more cars year over year for the fourth quarter. Toyota and Honda had big increases in sales for the month of December. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Hyundai and Kia did
Yes.
as well. Let's run through some of the numbers here.
Actually, Hyundai's year-over-year sales for December broke a streak of being up. I think it was 16 months in a row, and they were down 142 or 147 units, but they were actually down.
Really?
Yeah, even though they had their best sales ever for a year, their December sales were down 140 some over the previous December.
Yeah, here you go, Dad. Kia snapped a 16-month streak of sales increases with December volume of 60,275 units, down 147 units. But the company easily set an annual sales record of 782,000 vehicles, up 13% from 2022. Two of Kia's top sellers, the Sportage and Telluride, posted lower sales in December. Interesting that the Telluride would post lower sales. That's like their hottest vehicle out there.
I thought the same thing when I saw that, and maybe, just maybe, it has something to do with the fact that too many of their of the Kia dealerships out there still think that they're entitled to some sort of market adjustment on those Tellurides, and because of that, they're starting to sit a little bit. So I think that would be why they didn't surpass December of 2022. Their dealers just got too greedy, and the market has contracted to where there's only 17% of the population who thinks that they can actually be in the market.
Look at the inventory situation at Hyundai, Dad. The company, this is Hyundai, said they ended December with 69,000 vehicles in inventory, down from 74,000 in November, but up from 37,000 from a year earlier. And it speaks to, this is Hyundai. This is an affordable price point, not our Fords, not our CDJRs, not vehicles like that. Affordable price point, and inventory is still double what it was just a year ago. A great sign as we head into 2024 for consumers that there are going to be more and more opportunities for deals to be had.
And we have seen over the last several months, we have witnessed new vehicle inventory growing dramatically to where it'll probably, entering January, it'll probably be close to 2.6 million vehicles that will be available either on hand or in transit at new car dealerships for the month of January. That is higher than where the manufacturers would like it to be. And with interest rates higher, it has caused a situation where dealers have had to discount vehicles more so than they have in the past. So, and some of the information in that article that we were just looking at, it speaks to that, where discounts on vehicles were up dramatically in December, and with interest rates remaining high, should continue, I would think, in January and February. I don't know how strong the incentives will be for manufacturers in January and February, but they were much stronger in December than what they had been in December the prior year.
Definitely. And we've already seen some pullback on incentives. I want to pull up two more brands really quickly in terms of sales. Excuse me. I'm feeling better for the most part, but not 100% there. Mazda sales, Dad, up 45% in December. I mean, that's pretty incredible. We helped contribute to that a little bit at CarEdge, but still up 45%. So that's pretty incredible. And then I just want to make the note of it. Ford and Volvo, we get data from them tomorrow. Okay. So we'll have sales data from Ford and from Volvo. I think it's worth mentioning all of these numbers that we talk about for sales are slightly tainted by the fact that there are all sorts of different ways to mark vehicles as sold that never actually sold. So like the seasonally adjusted annual sales rate has gone up. Like December
Yeah.
was obviously really strong for the industry, and the numbers look healthier than they probably actually are because dealers are able to RDR, or retail delivery report, vehicles that they never actually sold. So I wonder how much of that for the various manufacturers is, influencing the numbers that we see. However, I can speak to Mazda for a moment here on incentives, Dad. They had 0% financing on a lot of their vehicles up to 60 months, really
Yeah.
63. They gave you 3 months deferred. That has now been revised for January, 36 months. They're giving 0%, but only up to 36 months and only for their higher trim levels. So you can already see the pullback of
Yes.
incentive spend as we've entered into this year. And I don't think any of us should expect that we're going to see, the same incentives we had in December here in January. It's going to be pulled back a little bit. If things slow down in January, then maybe February and March, there'll be a pick back up.
And, we've talked about it for years now that December is one of the strongest months, if not the strongest month of the year for the new car dealers. So, yes, you would expect big sales numbers. They were all chasing sales goals. I am sure the factory reps from Kia are kicking themselves for not having had their dealers put 148 new Kias into service loaner fleet and report them as sold during the course of the month so that they could have had a winning month. But yeah, sales are always strong in December. Your seasonally adjusted sales rate's always higher in December. And yes, it'll go down dramatically in January. And you can your Mazda example. I mean, that's a huge difference. 60 months at 0% or 36 months at 0%, and only on the higher trim levels, which means that if you're buying one of those higher trim levels and you want the 0%, you're looking at payments in excess of $1,000 a month. Okay, because it's only for 36 months. And there's
Yep.
not a lot of people that can look at that and go, yes, I can actually afford to do that. And so when we suggested that you need to buy a car by January 2nd to take advantage of some of the programs out there, I guess we kind of meant it. Just
Do you
based on
think
the 43 years I was in retail automotive.
do you think we're going to see MSRP increases start to trickle in now that we're
Yes.
in 2024?
Yes, I mean, you read that article about the Ford Lightning, and I believe Toyota has announced price increases. So yes, you're gonna see all the manufacturers adjusting their MSRPs moving into 2024. Because they think they can, and B, when it comes to GM, Stellantis, and Ford, to reflect the new cost of the labor agreements with the UAW. For anybody who thought that there would be a sizable wage increase for the UAW, and there wouldn't be a corresponding MSRP increase to cover that cost, well, you were just being foolish because listen, they want to keep their profit levels where they've been. And
Definitely, yeah.
so yeah, we're gonna see the MSRPs creeping up, and in some cases, like on the Ford Lightning, $5,000 increase on a base Lightning, that's not creeping up. That's like trying to set a world record.
Well, no, we saw some really big MSRP increases last year. Let's actually look at the data from this. Like you said, came out about 20 minutes ago. So we've
Yes.
got Ford is increasing the prices of certain 2024 model year F-150 Lightning pickups by as much as $10,000. Didn't they increase them by $10,000 last year too on some of them?
I do believe yes.
All right. The automaker said Wednesday that the entry-level Pro trim geared towards commercial buyers will start at $57,090, up from $52,090. The highest price hike comes to the XLT standard range trim, which will now cost $67,090, including shipping, up $10,000
Can
from
I
the
say
2023 model. Wow.
what? And may I say one thing? we need to realize and recognize that when they announced the Lightning, they announced it as a sub $40,000 vehicle. Okay. And in 2.5 years, they went from under 40 grand to the base price starts at $57,000. Okay. That's an $18,000 increase in 2 years. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like the Cybertruck was going to be like $40,000 as well.
It seems like that's a recurring theme. We have a guide back on the CarEdge website all about electric vehicle trucks and everything like that, or electric trucks, I should say. And this is like the original data when these things were getting announced. So this Silverado EV is supposed to be released soon, and that was supposed to be a $52,000 truck. We'll see what they come out at. 450 miles of range. We'll see if that happens. $49,995 starting price for the Ford. I think that was after. This must have been updated. So this is after original price increases. Obviously, the Hummer EV, the GMC Sierra EV is supposed to be coming this year. We'll see if it actually does. The Rivian, the Ram 1500, which I think comes next year, and obviously the Tesla Cybertruck, which has started to roll off of production lines, and customers are starting to get them in that, obviously. If I'm not mistaken, I mean, I'm not super up to date on it, but I'm pretty sure they missed pricing guidance on that as well. It's like a theme in auto is just like you promise one price, get a bunch of people to give you $1,000, and then you give them a different price.
It is apparently you would, as a manufacturer, there is some law that you would violate. That if you announce a new EV and you announce it at a price point higher than $39,995, you're going straight to jail. So every time, I mean, Fisker with the Ocean, 39 grand. Every time somebody announces a new EV, it's 39 grand. Okay. until they actually produce the damn thing. And then suddenly it's 50 grand or it's 60 grand. So our dear friend, Glenn Bob, one of his favorite stories is when somebody would come into the store and say, well, the other dealership offered me the car for X. And Glenn would say, well, did they have it in stock? And they would go, well, no. And Glenn would say, well, I just want you to know that when I had my butcher shop before I got in the car business, pork chops were $2.99 a pound when I didn't have any. Okay. But they were $4.99 a pound when I had them in stock. Okay. It is you just throw out a price point that you have no intention of actually producing a vehicle for, to get the hype, to get people to talk about it, to get the press. And then you price it, $10,000, $20,000 higher. It's just, I don't know. I must have done something wrong in life. I don't know what it was. I don't know who I pissed off when I was a young boy. But obviously, maybe it was a teacher. I don't know. But I did something wrong in life so that I ended up doing this.
You mean instead of just telling people, hey, something's going to cost this much, but actually when it's available, it costs that much?
Yes. I mean, Glenn Bob was so accurate with that.
Yeah. If they have it, they're going to charge what they want. And if I don't have it, I can make something up. And that's pretty much what these automakers do. And to be very fair, I see the comments in the chat. Yeah, inflation's been 20+% over the past 5 years. So yeah, we get that as well. No one could have seen that coming, but you also, you see these price increases on the Lightning, for example, not just to harp on EVs. Like I anticipate, and I think you do as well, Dad, there's going to be MSRP increases across the board this coming year. And it's not just the vehicles that were promised at certain price points. It's vehicles that, you used to think were affordable. We saw it last year with like Honda. They got rid of for a period of time their entry-level trim options. They just weren't even making them. So there are kind of subtle ways to increase the cost without necessarily even coming out and saying like, yeah, or Chevy's doing it right now with the Blazer. Like they have an entry-level Blazer, but they're increasing the price on it and only producing the higher trim levels. Like, yeah,
that was another thing that was in that article about car sales is that, the experts say there's an affordability issue based on A, the price of the vehicles, and B, the high interest rates. And that those pressure points is what's going to hold sales down in 2024. Nobody is projecting like this tremendous increase in sales for 2024 because smart people, kind of like us, smart people said interest rates are too high in relation to what selling prices are, so that they're just not affordable for enough people. And when the big shots at Cox and Experian and all, they go, well, there's an affordability issue. I don't know. They should have checked with us like 18 months ago. We would have been more than happy to tell them. Yeah, there's an affordability issue. And yes, it's going to impact sales. And yes, if you're only playing to 17% of the market, you can keep raising your prices because that 17% can still afford it. Now, what happens as they continue to raise those prices and that 17% becomes 15% or 14% or 13%, which is what will happen because there are part of that 17% are barely on the fringes of being able to afford those vehicles. And they're going to start falling off that train. And yeah, sales are going to slow. Sales very well could slow or not see the type of growth that anybody would expect to see, because there is and will continue to be an affordability crisis for automobiles and trucks in this country.
Yeah, that'll be the big story for 2024. And I think where we started with the Mach-E is the actual example that we compared to the Maverick. Maverick sells like hotcakes. It's an affordable price point. Mach-E doesn't. Dad, let's come here to Steve. Steve, thank you for the contribution. Love what you guys do. Keep up the good work. My question is, how much profit per unit does the manufacturer make? Let's use simple numbers. If invoice is $45,000, MSRP is $52,000, what does the manufacturer cost? Obviously, the manufacturers are publicly traded companies. I mean, Stellantis, who we rag on all the time because their cars don't sell, they're overpriced, etc. I mean, they have, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's like a net profit margin of 12 or 13%, 11, somewhere between 11 and 13%. That's net. That's not gross. That's net. That's like after they pay everyone and all their costs associated. So these automakers make a boatload of money. Even when they come out and say that they don't, they do. Like when Ford and GM were doing all the negotiating with UAW, Stellantis as well. It's because, like they make a ton of money. Like what did they make last year? GM made like $10 billion or something. It was insane.
I mean, I have no idea what the manufacturer's cost is. And I know that the public blames dealers for what the MSRPs are. Well, the MSRP is set by the manufacturer. And so, I mean, there are some who would suggest that if it's a $45,000 vehicle, it probably cost them $22,500 to build it. I don't know. I really don't know. But if they're still making 10 to 12% net after I don't know, paying the CEO $30 million and all the other, I mean, then there's huge margins in there for the manufacturer. The margins for the dealers, and I'm not sitting here trying to defend dealers, but the margins for the dealers, as you well know, are much, much smaller. I mean, I sold cars for 43 years. If we sold a $40,000 car, people thought, well, you're making $15,000. Well, no, maybe the manufacturer did. Okay. But the margin for me, might have been $1,000 or $1,500, or let's say it was $2,000, but it was nowhere near what people thought it was. But the manufacturers are rolling in the dough. Yeah.
Speaking of which, we'll talk about tomorrow, VinFast opening up their first car dealership. I found that to be quite interesting. Taker says, and thank you for this, Taker.
Thank you, Taker.
So now that the $7,500 federal tax credit can be point of sale, Ford raises the price on Lightnings. What a deal for those who waited until after January 1st. Yeah, that is kind of interesting. Although, let's be clear, it's on the model year 2024. So if there's a 2023 still sitting out there, the price is still the same on that. And obviously, if I'm not mistaken, the Lightning does qualify for the federal tax incentive.
Yeah, there's only 13 vehicles that actually qualify for the full tax credit now. So, and then, the system that the government set up so that you could take advantage of that tax credit up front. Well,
Yeah, it crashed yesterday.
that system crashed the first day in operation yesterday, which is no surprise because, well, it's a government run organization. So, why would you expect it to work the way it's supposed to?
Hey, I'm sure there are plenty of people who had a very late night yesterday trying to figure these things out. Let's come here to Juan. Juan says,
Yeah.
can you help me buy a car? If so, how? Thanks, Juan. I promise we didn't plant that in there. Folks, if you go to CarEdge.com, a couple things, just search for a vehicle that you're interested in. So we'll do a 24, Honda, Accord. When I search for that Honda Accord, I will land on the car search. Use the car search to find a vehicle that you're interested in. There's all sorts of fun information here, like how long a vehicle has been on a dealer's lot. And if you are a data user, you'll be able to also see the target discount, what you should be shooting for. Regardless of if you are or not, come down here and click on I want this car. When you click on I want this car, you will share with us how you want to purchase that vehicle. You want to lease it, you want to finance it, you want to pay cash. And we will also ask you when you're looking to move forward quickly. We are going to ask you for your name and your phone number and your email address. Phone number is entirely optional. And then what happens after this is your information does not go to the dealership. We are not selling your information as a lead like all those other websites do. Instead, it comes to our team, and then we talk to you about the different ways that we might be able to help you. We have our concierge service where we do it all for you, as well as the email templates, the data, and all the ways that we can help you on your own. So please, for you, Juan, how we can help you, go use the car search, find a vehicle you're interested in, click on I want this car. Your information goes to us, not to a dealer. And we obviously have the other tools as well, like selling and trading in your vehicle. We have the extended warranties with the promotions ending today and all the free resources just as well. Thank you.
So if I hear you correctly, and I wear hearing aids so I can hear things correctly. If I hear you correctly, if you're a do-it-yourself kind of person, we've got tools available that can help you do it yourself. And if you're somebody that doesn't want to be bothered having to do it yourself, we have ways available using our concierge service where they can do it for you. So
100%.
So whether you feel like going to the Home Depot and picking up the tile and laying it yourself, or you just want to have a tile guy pick out the tile and come install it for you, we got you covered either way. Okay.
Not sure if we needed the analogy, but I think the point was, conveyed. So well done.
I apologize.
It's all good, Dad. It's all good. All right, folks. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you, Dad. I'm so excited to get back into the groove, man. Today's a rough day. You got the jet lag, and you're just starting to get back in. But I can't wait to be in a groove, with the exception of next week doing some travel as well. But anyway, I'm glad to be back with you, back in your kitchen. Looking forward to tomorrow. And thank you for your time as always. Thank you, everyone who joins us, and let's have a great, happy 2024.
Yep, we'll see you back here tomorrow at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific time. Good seeing you almost close to home, Zach. I'll see you soon.